Yes, good morning and welcome to another Sunday fun day-ish on the upper deck. I'm Lynn and right next to me is Ciarra. What's up, Ciarra?
The Dodgers just ruined my entire day, okay? Because I was about to come on here and I was going to talk about how the Cubs made a multi-year deal offer to Tanner Scott and how I was right because that the Cubs are going to compete this season and that the Cubs fans just booed Jed Hoyer and blah, 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 blah. I was going to go on this whole rant about the Cubs competing in 2025 just for the Dodgers to rip the rug out from underneath me and give Tanner Scott a 4-year, $72 million deal, okay? As always, it's F the Dodgers. I have never prayed for a downfall more in my entire life. Like, I don't know, like I wasn't I was alive, but I was like a small child. So I don't know if this is how Yankees fans got to what they got to experience like back in the day in the early 90s and the evil empire times. But I really, really, really hate the Dodgers right now. And I can't fault them for what they're doing. There's nobody stopping them.
No, you can't, but doesn't mean we can't hate them. I mean, they are no doubt the evil empire we barely remember ever having been. And you know who else is, I'm sure, just as mad as you are, Ciarra? Everyone that's in the chat so far. And that's FJ, Graham Highlander. We got Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Hour. Also, bringing the breaking news. Lori, we've missed you. Where you been, girl? Happy to see you in here. And CWE and Jared, good morning, good morning, good morning. And so, well, we're starting the show in a way we didn't expect. And yet it plays right into the theme of the despaired message we're going to be have been sending about WTF with this off season. You know, you started off, it's like a bad romance. You started off love bombing us with all these good things, and then you like took a hike. And you know, you sent us like a little text every now and then in the form of some unknown, you know, whoever. It's just, it's maddening. And we can know now that we were saying that they're waiting for Sasaki. And well, we know how that went. Remember when that was the worst news of the day? You know, that there's, what are they going to do, Ciarra, between now and pitchers and catchers, which is like 3 weeks away, maybe even less, and let alone the trade deadline.
Yeah, I wasn't even upset about Roki Sasaki, if I'm being completely honest, because everybody with eyeballs knew, like, I really wanted him to go to the Cubs just to make a point, or the Padres. But it got to the point where I was like, okay, everyone knows this kid is going to the Dodgers. It's kind of silly at this point. I do feel bad for Toronto because literally nobody wants to take their money. Don't know what's going on up there, but like not even their own players want to take their money. So they need to figure that out. But the Yankees need to figure it out too, because the last time I checked, we still need bullpen arms, right? We still need some lefty bullpen arms. And at this point, if they don't go out and re-sign Tim Hill or Tim Meza, I'm going to lose my mind because our options are getting thin at this point, and we need some left-handed relief. Don't get me wrong. I still think we have a great bullpen on paper. You know what I mean? Like we have we have Devin Williams. We have Luke Weaver. Rotation looks really good right now, so I'm not really worried about that. I know the Yankees are still trying to move my favorite guy, Marcus Strowman, for whatever reason. But if the Dodgers can have 70-11 pitchers, why can't we have a 6-man rotation, right? They literally have more pitchers than like – other teams have outfield. Like it's insane what they're doing over there. But again, like nobody's stopping them. So at this point, what are we to do? You know what I mean? And I'm sorry. I know Yankees fans are holding out hope for, well, some Yankees fans are holding out hope for Murakami, but he's never going to be a Yankee. He is going to be he probably already is a Dodger. They probably already have some secret signing under the table that we're not aware of.
Right. Yep. I mean, I think that's pretty much cemented in. We just have to get it to settle in our brains so that we, you know, I mean, friggin', you know, you think about going back to Yamamoto, and the Yankees appeared so all in, and did everything that they could there. And it was never going to be a thing. So we should really be, and we're going to be talking about this whole international game, because we really need to be realistic and set our expectations straight on who to really go for. Because I think we have enough of a road record here that the Japanese players are going West Coast, and they even didn't even like no thank you to the Cubs right after no thank you to New York, so you knew that they were doing the polite denials across the country, but I think we all already knew it. So what are we going to do with it? Our international game is sort of the theme of the show, but I do see some things in the chat and that I just wanted to lift up. And well, Jared, we're going to be talking just a little bit of football.
Shout out to Jaden Daniels for putting on a freaking show last night.
Yeah. So we're not going to be able to avoid the playoff conversation, even though we know we're very well aware we're a baseball podcast. Hey, John the Beagle Dad, hope all is good. Good to see you. And CWE, well, Yankees had mostly homegrown teams. Dodgers team is bought. Well, there's truth in what you're saying, but another thing we're going to get into is what the hell are we doing with our farm? It is touted as a very solid, very good farm, but it's the field where some of them go to die. So we're in a situation now that we need to start really thinking about what's the MO here of the front office. Is it going to be a combination of finally, lifting up some more top prospects and get some international signings from, South America, Puerto Rico, etc., more, inclined to go East Coast, because we can't compete with the Dodgers when it comes to the Japanese trading at all.
Yeah, and that's where I propose a question of how do you fix the international draft to where Japan has to be included with all of the other countries, right? So Japan's not its own entity at this point. How do we make it to where Japan, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba, South Korea, China, we're all in the same draft? But that brings up more questions. How do we even the playing field? Because right now in Japan, when they're coming to the States, they are fully developed adults, right? They're 22, 23, 24 years old. And the way that it works in Japan is they don't have to release them. They can tell them, no, you have to stay. But once they reach the caliber of a Yamamoto or a Ohtani, they're going to let them go. They're going to let them get their money and do their thing and put that market on a big stage. But how do we do that to where these kids in the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico get the same chance? Because we're scooping them up at 14, 15, 16 years old. We're promising them a future, but it's not guaranteed. The Japanese market, it's almost guaranteed that either they'll be successful here or they'll go back to Japan and be successful. But when we're scooping up these kids from these smaller islands, it's not necessarily true that they're going to be successful. They could be stuck in our minor leagues their entire career. But also at the same time, because I really do think an international draft is the way to go, but the playing conditions that the kids in Japan have versus the kids on the smaller islands in the Caribbean versus the kids in the States is way different. There's a different amount of money that goes into these things. And then you also have to take into consideration, you have the small island of Puerto Rico, right? They're at a complete disadvantage in all of this because they are technically American citizens. So they can enter the draft at 18, but a kid in Puerto Rico is not getting the same playing conditions and the same development and the same training as a kid in Texas or New York or California. So there's a lot that needs to go into this, but the MLB needs to regulate the international draft to make it an even playing field. Because is it fun to watch, the Dodgers hit 1,000 home runs? Sure. But is it fun to watch the same team win every season? Absolutely not. At what point does baseball just become boring because you're watching the same thing over and over and over. Like, I want to see competitive baseball. I don't want to see a team win 30-2 every single time I turn on the TV. Like, I don't know. I'm going on a rant at this point.
Yeah, no, and that's what we're here to do. And hey, Raziel, good to see you, my friend. We stole Devin Williams, so their fallback is Tanner Scott. That's not a flux for us. And Cold Italian Pizza, good to see you here. I want to call him out because he's saying,
I just like his name.
yeah, me too. And it also, low key wants me to have a piece of cold pizza. Okay. And Jordan, thanks for stopping in. Yes, and the deferred Dodgers strike again. That's for sure. We don't, it's going to be interesting to see the details of the signing and whether they're getting Tanner Scott with some deferral money or how they're managing it. Because quite frankly, I'm not a numbers girl. Nobody wants me to balance their checkbook. But with everything they've been doing and all the moves and all the signings, I don't understand the bottomless pit of money here. So we'll have to. I'll be interested in that. And I don't know. Maybe this is a good question for the chat and Ciarra as well. Why don't we defer the money?
So here's my thought process, right? I've been thinking about this international draft and this deferral money all week, and I've had conversations with people all week because this is a hot topic right now. How much of this deferred money is going to hurt the Dodgers in the future? Like, are they going to be able to make the money back to repay what they're spending, in the future? You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. Ohtani has shown to be very marketable in LA. Like, you saw the number of Asian Americans who went to Dodger Stadium last season. So obviously there's a market there, but will they make enough money to pay what they have to spend in the future, if that makes sense? I don't think other teams want to make that take that chance, especially not the smaller market teams, right? Like the Yankees could probably do it. The Mets could probably do it. And don't forget, there are other players in the MLB who have deferred contracts. There's deferrals in Rafael Devers' contract, just not as much as the Dodgers. There's deferrals in Francisco Lindor's contract, just not as much as the Dodgers. Like, it's not unheard of. The Dodgers are just doing it on a much larger scale. But I guess my whole point is other teams are afraid to do it because if you don't pay back your credit card, like, your team is screwed in the future, right? Like if I don't pay my credit card now, my credit in the future is screwed and I won't be able to get the newer, bigger house I want in 10 years, right?
Right.
That's how I look at it. But that's where I also bring it back to the international draft. The MLB needs to regulate it and make it to where, like, the Japanese players shouldn't be allowed to this is not The Bachelor, okay? Like, they shouldn't be allowed to hand out roses and decide who their final date is going to be. They should get drafted just like the kids in the Dominican Republic, just like the kids in Venezuela, just like the kids out of college. It should be the same thing. Not, well, I want to go play with all my friends in LA, or, play with my hero Ohtani because I'm allowed to choose. That is not fair to the other international prospects or even the American prospects. Like, they're getting a whole different level of treatment because the MLB sees this as a marketable, money-making thing. Yep. And that's what bothers me about it.
And you're so spot on, and the chat's agreeing with you. And, NFJ saying, how is this not going to hurt baseball eventually? To your point. And CWE is echoing the same. Like, you have to limit Japanese players per team. No pun intended, but you have to level the playing field. And so the outcome of that could be that, would that mean that Japanese prospects aren't going to come over and sign for the MLB? No, they'll have to adjust, so I don't think that there's any risk of not getting these wonderkins from Japan, but there has to be some level of equity. And to your point, Ciarra, it has to mimic how it goes for the American side of the game. And I don't know what the rules are when you could reopen, the rules and put clauses in, but we can't wait for another big contract before. This is just getting to be a bit too much. And of course, what are people going to say? Oh, the Yankees are just whining because they keep losing all these big shots. That's really not it. And what Ciarra just put down is a very fair point about equity and access. And so we all want it in all ways of life, and it's tilting the market as well. So you have to feel bad for the West Coast leagues when they're because the Dodgers are a menace.
Listen, your girl is going to be rooting for the Padres every single step of the way. As long as we're not playing them, the Padres, I will be rooting for them on the West Coast because they're already considered the villains because of Tatis and Machado. I will be praying for them to defeat the Dodgers in the playoffs next season. Like, for me, it's always going to be F the Dodgers moving forward. And yeah, I am upset because my team isn't doing the same thing, because my team isn't making the big signings right now, because I just watched my team beat themselves in the World Series. And when it comes to the Dodgers now, it doesn't matter if they can't play defense, because if they're scoring 50, 11 runs every game, it doesn't matter. Every team is upset right now, though, too. It's not just the Yankees fans being entitled or whiny or whatever you want to call us. Every other team that isn't the Dodgers is upset at what they're doing. Good for their fans, right? Like, their fans are obviously going to fight us tooth and nail. They don't see anything wrong with it because they're going to watch this superstar. Like, the best way I can explain it is if you've ever watched Space Jam and when the Monstars are beating up on the Looney Tunes, that's what the Dodgers are. So good for their fans because they get to watch that. But the rest of us are the little Looney Tunes right now, and it doesn't feel good.
And so my pal Chris here, check Chris out on X. Chris has a couple of really good podcasts himself. Chris, feel free to put them in the chat below so everyone could check your shows out. So he's explaining that the team has pool money to sign these kids. So
yeah, and I get that, but it needs to be more regulated. Like, it needs to be an actual draft, because if we're just gonna watch fully developed 23-year-olds who are superstars hand out the final rose to the Dodgers season after season after season, that is BS. Because like I said, we're scooping up these kids from the Caribbean islands at 14, 15, 16 years old. First of all, they're not developed. Second of all, we're promising them this dream that might never happen, while the Dodgers are getting a fully developed pitcher or first baseman or third baseman or whatever they're going to end up with in the future, because they're just going to be a whole team of Japanese players, because eventually Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and all those other guys are going to have to retire unless the CBA steps in and regulates this further and makes it an even playing field.
Yep. So I'm going to shift the winds just a little bit. Why don't we go and bring D-Rob back home? Or maybe bring back Hill like we're saying. Or JoJo or Nardi if you want a lefty.
Didn't David Robertson get signed somewhere already?
I'm not sure if he's been picked up, because I think Robin Donald was talking about that.
I feel like Homeboy is like on the market every season.
Yeah, and what does that tell you if that's true?
No, the Rangers announced that the signing of reliever David Robertson to a 1 year with a mutual option for 2025. So I'm sure he's available for trade, but like, I don't know, guys. Like that, he's up for grabs every season, and I don't have any like disdain for the guy. He did good with the Yankees, but like, why is he always on the move? Why can't he find a home? That concerns me. I do like the idea of JoJo Romero from the Braves. Or not the Braves, I'm sorry, from the Cardinals. But I'm at the point where I feel like the Yankees are done. Like, everything's going to be internal at this point. They might make, maybe they will make a small signing with Tim Hill or Tim Meza because they're only going to cost $2-3 million. But I feel like all of our other options are going to be internal.
Yep. And we're going to pivot to that in a second. But there's a few more external things that we want to throw out to you. But first, I just want to acknowledge that Jordan Thaler picked up on your Bachelor theme and ran with it there.
Love it.
CWE, I don't think we're there yet that the Yankees are done. I think we're on the ledge of a very tall building, but we really have to. Oh God, Raziel, you gotta do this to me. We have DJ. I mean, you know, quite frankly, can we rule that out on January 19th? No, but let's just not put that. Let's just not speak that into existence. Can we have an agreement that we don't mention what's going to be done with DJ for the rest of the year? So and Chris, yep, this is going to factor in everything we talk about because they need to move Strowman and for whom.
Okay, so I'm gonna fact check myself real quick. So the chat is right. So David Robertson did not exercise a $7 million mutual option for 2025. So he is available. But I still have concerns because why is he always like the guy is always on the market? So my point with that still stands. He's always available. Like that concerns me. Why are you always available? And also he's older now. And I'm not trying to be like age shaming, but like at the same time I am. Sorry guys.
Razio, love you too, man. But the second half of that phrase, if that's true, then I quit baseball. That's all I'm saying. All right, so this slide is still relevant. I thought that we were on the way of not having to have this discussion, but Cashman keeps it open for us. So listen. The bullpen is looking great, but we all just went through it, right? Bring us back Hill, bring us back Meza. I know Canely has been like sort of dismissed from the conversation, but they're solid. We have a 6-man rotation that, all things being equal, if Rodon comes back and is a 3.0 version of Rodon, then that solves a lot of my concern. And yeah, Strowman is the dangling piece. And poor Strowman, I mean, we all got to admit, has been treated really unfairly by the Yanks. And I really, as much as I liked having him here, and as much as I feel like he still would have had a place here, he deserves to go and be somewhere else. He is too good at what he does, and just because he is not a power, doesn't have an arm of fire, and is then it's just sort of like the guy that doesn't have the heavy bat, So he's a wallflower right now, but there's teams that can really use him, and he could be a really good trading piece. The Yankees have to make a move on him and not wait too long. Like they're waiting too long on everything else. Let's make sure that Strowman gets that they do right by Strowman. And so giving up on that Strowman and whoever takes him, do your magic and have them eat that contract that still stands, because that's not a light weight there.
That's the problem, though. And obviously, I'm a Strowman defender, right? So I'm trying to come at this like from a completely unbiased point of view. But the whole league at this point knows that the Yankees want to get rid of Marcus Strowman and that they want someone to eat his contract. That they're going to struggle to get that because there are a lot of teams right now trying to dump payroll. So I don't even know what team at this point would take on Strowman's contract. I mean, he's still a very valuable pitcher, right? Like he would be a great number 4 or 5 in anyone's rotation, and I will argue that until I'm blue in the face any day of the week because it is very rare to find a guy with 6 pitches, and I know he's a ground ball pitcher, but a lot of the times with these younger guys coming up, they're throwers, they're not pitchers. They have maybe 2-3 pitches. Strowman is a vet. He's old school. He has 6 pitches. His biggest downfall is his Twitter fingers. Like that is really what holds him back. A little bit of injury in 2023 and 2024, 2023, first half of the season, my guy was on his way to be a Cy Young winner. Okay. That hip injury took him down. 2024, he looked good. And then all of a sudden his velocity was down. His location was wrong. And you know what? He took it on the chin. And going into the playoffs, everyone said Marcus Strowman was going to go online. He was going to run his mouth. He was going to say the Yankees are racist. He was going to say this, that, and the other. He did not say a single word. He still wore all his Yankees gear on the sideline, was still the biggest hype man, was there, and did not complain about not being in the bullpen or being in the starting rotation in any of the playoffs or the World Series. So I personally, I would keep Marcus Strowman. I understand why other people want to deal him, but at the same time, because the whole league knows we want to get rid of him, I just don't see it being as easy as it would be.
Graham has an interesting point though. Marlins do have to spend some money. So maybe, but who we gonna take from the Marlins would be the question there. So tell us the other half of that good thought, Graham, because Marlins just aren't anyone we even think to look at. And Jared's asking, and Jared, I'm going to say absolutely he should have played in the postseason. They could have used him early on in play to his strengths. When there was some faltering, and there was some faltering from our starters, as we saw.
Hindsight is 2020,
and it is. Yeah, we should have. I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Should it have been Strowman instead of Nestor? Or should it? We just won't know. Once Flaherty signed, Strowman becomes more or less.
And I can agree with that. And Jack Flaherty is funny. So he actually posted on Twitter the other day a little GIF of a guy like sitting and like tick-tock, my turn's next. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jack Flaherty and if the dominoes kind of fall in line after. But I mean, also, guys, I'm going to propose this. With the way that the Yankees pitchers get injured, because let's face it, our medical staff, our health and fitness staff, whatever, they have to be some of the worst and most incompetent in this league, in my opinion. But with the way that our pitchers fell last season, why wouldn't we want that extra option? Like,
right.
That's kind of where my head is at. Like, and that's why the Dodgers are doing what they're doing because with their pitchers, because they have the same issue. They had injury after injury after injury, so they're stacking the deck. So even if their pitchers fall like dominoes, they have the people they need in place to pick up the slack. So I would be lying if I said I wasn't concerned going into next season. Rodon had a pretty healthy season, but he has back issues. Cole, who knows what the hell's going on with that guy's elbow? If it's back to what it was before. Clark Schmidt had some issues. Luis Heel he suffered some fatigue at one point or another and was struggling with location. These are all things that need to be considered. But this is why I'm not a GM, because I would make irrational decisions and get emotionally attached to players, and we would never win. So I'll just leave it at that.
Although, do you think that the fact that we now have a 6-man rotation, it makes using the need for Strowman even less? And relegating him to the bullpen, what use would he really get against the other arms that are, what you want to see, except for those mid early innings where you would want Stro? What other purpose would he serve?
Well, and that's where I struggle, because we can't have a 6-man rotation. It doesn't work for us.
Right.
And you can't put Clark Schmidt back in the bullpen. He's a starter now, and a good one at that. So I get it. It's killing me.
No, and it's not even killing me softly. It's killing me hard. I'm the same way, but it's business, and we're in a time, especially at this time of the year, we got to get things set. I understand that there's a lot of looking still to do. That's what spring training does for you. We have those prospect games coming up during spring training. I forget the little title for those matchups, where we'll get a good look at top prospects, and maybe that'll move some of the road under the rubber. But I'm still looking at the fact that we still don't have third base settled. It feels like it's Groundhog Day every Sunday, and because every week we're still in the same situation. And yeah, we could joke, at least I think most of us are joking about DJ, being the third baseman. But look, we're getting closer and closer to a reality there. unless we're going to, promote from within or find somebody else. So here's my controversial time of the week. So driving home, I'm listening to the Michael Kay show on the radio, and he was talking about a player from the Pirates, and if you were watching Yankified last afternoon, Rob did make mention of him. He laid down a case for Brian Hayes from the Pirates. So now Brian Hayes is 28 years old. He won the National League Gold Glove at third in 2023, the year after Arenado got it. And the downside, there's some downsides. He's great on the defense, but he struggled at the plate this year. Last season, he just hit 233 with 4 home runs. If you haven't made the connection yet, he happens to be the son of Charlie Hayes, also a former Yankee third baseman who's famous for catching the ball of Game 6 and winning the World Series in, I believe, 95. I wish Spencer was around to confirm that for me. But he's in the top 90 percentile on fielding range for outs above average, and top 78 in fielding runs value when looking at Baseball Savant. So, Gold Glover at third. The money that he comes with is heavy, though. So this would definitely need, like we were just talking about, to offload Strowman somewhere and have someone eat part of their contract, because he's in the second year. He's going into his third year of an 8-year, $70 million contract with the Pirates. But he's said to be very unhappy there. Charlie Hayes Sr. remarked on some problems he's noting in hitter development down there, and that maybe, and Kay is saying, bring him to a more stable organization, and this kid's really got the stuff. Compare him, 28 years old, Gold Glove winner, with Arenado, who's still out there and everyone's talking about. Arenado's 5 years older, and his bat is declining. So, do we think about somebody younger and with high potential? And I know also DeJong's on the table, and we'll need to talk to him about it, to talk about him as well. But I just wanted to call his name out there. It was funny. I laughed when Rob brought him up. No one even brought him up, and Rob's like, by the way, we're not getting Hayes. That the Pirates won't let go of him. And I'm like, are you reading my notes for tomorrow already? Like, you're even mentioning that, Rob?
Dream crusher. So part of me wonders, because he technically hasn't asked for a trade yet, right? Part of me wonders, is it Brian that's upset, or is Charlie not happy with, how things are playing out for his son in Pittsburgh? Because if he hasn't asked for a trade, he's not on the table, but I do think he is a viable option if he does get put on the trade block. Because honestly, at this point, we need defense in the infield. Like, bats aside, obviously we want a well-rounded player, but we need defense in the infield. We've talked about that last season. We've talked about this off season. It's something that the Yankees have struggled with in recent years is our defense, and it's something that we need to fix. As far as Arenado is concerned, I think the only reason he would even be brought on is for his defense as well. But part of me wonders if the reason why Arenado isn't like in high conversations with us at this point is because we still have Strowman, and we're not willing to give Arenado the money that he's looking for. So I don't know. I know, there's still Bregman's still available. Like, there are still options out there, but we're not hearing the Yankees having conversations with anybody. And of course, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but we're right at that 301 threshold. And unless we get rid of money, i.e. like you and everybody in the chat has said, Marcus Stroman's money, I just don't think the Yankees are doing anything at this point. I think this will be the season that we will see some young kids. I think infield internally, unfortunately, I hate to say this, I think DJ LeMahieu will be your starting day third baseman. and Jazz will be at second, or Jazz will be at third, and either Peraza or Vivas will have won a shot at second. So I don't know.
Yeah. And Rosie, I think we're so not getting Bregman. I tend to agree with that, the way the winds are blowing. And I do think we have to, prepare ourselves for that fact. And to be fair, this could be a juggernaut for DJ this year. Who knows? Who knows what happened during the winter? Maybe he went to the cabin that Rodon went to last winter and meditated and rethought life, and it flashed before his eyes, and he went to a mad scientist to fix his toes and his feet and everything else. And I kid, as I always do, but that right now, that's what we're looking at.
What? I'm laughing at Lori's comment. Maybe he got a foot transplant. That would be best for everybody.
Exactly. Maybe it's bionic, and he'll be with us for another 5 years at his old form. Who knows? But we're in a situation where, Raziel, it's a platoon at third. DJ, it would be DJ Cabrera. I really am lost in the sauce on what's going to happen to Peraza, and and Vivas. I think that's going to depend on what we see in training, honestly. Although he's been much more in the conversation. What do you think, Ciarra, about that?
So I think we have screwed up Peraza at this point. He's had over, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you guys will, he's had over 100 at-bats in the major leagues at this point, and the guy can't hit. Defense, great, but he has to be able to hit the ball at the major league level. And unfortunately, he's not Anthony Volpe. He's not going to get a full season to figure it out. 2023 was a shot in the dark. We weren't, I shouldn't say we weren't playing for anything to start, because I think we were, but the moment that Judge went down, I think the front office knew we got to pack it in here. And Anthony Volpe had a was given keys to the kingdom, full shot at being a rookie. And you know what? It worked out, because Volpe showed up in last year's World Series when we needed somebody. So that worked out. But I do not see Peraza getting that same treatment. I don't see Jorbit Vivas getting the same treatment. I think Vivas will be on the roster start opening day. However, he will not get the same treatment as Volpe. It is what it is, and I think we just have to accept that. I could see us having him on the roster opening day and making a trade at the deadline.
Yeah, and when you look at the very small room full of free agents left, Bregman, we already think is sort of, what the hell's going on there? Nobody's grabbing him. And not even a whisper in a cup from the Yankees about him. And I know that the guys have talked about Profar and Ha-Seong Kim. Those are still available. So you have to wonder why they're still available, other than the contract money. But Profar is basically, we don't know a position he hasn't played. So, but the thing is that we don't. I mean, we could use a second super utility guy no matter what, but he's not the answer to a second or third. Bregman would be the solid answer to third, to release Jazz to go back to second, obviously. But, I don't think Kim is the answer either, for similar reasons to Profar. Your take, Ciarra?
I am team Breggy all the way, but it comes down to money with Breggy. Scott Boras is the worst person on the planet Earth, and unfortunately that's who his agent is. Scott Boras is literally killing his clients at this point. I mean, look at poor Pete Alonso. Like, he went out and got Scott Boras as his client this season, and has absolutely killed his own market. And I'm afraid that Bregman is doing the same thing. But when it comes to Ha-Seong Kim, I think he would be great at second base. However, the only thing that I'm concerned about is he is coming off an injury. So if he is available to be traded or whatever, he might not be available until May. So we would still have to plug somebody in at second or third or whatever. which is fine. Like it's like what, a month and a half, a month. We should be okay. I think no matter what, the Yankees are still going to be the best team in the American League East. I'm more so concerned about how once we get, let's say we survive the playoffs and we make it to the World Series. That's my concern, because that National League is stacked right now and it just keeps getting better and better, while the American League has seemed to like roll over and die. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and let's see. So 13, and so pivoting back to Back to the Future.
Yep. We talked about it last week. Paul Goldschmidt is a stopgap, right? That's not our future. He's a stopgap. Vladdy will be a free agent next season. You know, he went to arbitration with the Blue Jays, blah, 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 whatever, but he doesn't want to be there long term. They're not going to pay him. And let's face it, he's young. And while he is, you know, everyone gets on the guy for being fat or whatever, he can freaking run. He can hit the ball and he can field. And, you know, have you seen the guy can actually jump? So I've been on the Vladdy train for a while now. But it's going to be between us, the Mets, and the Red Sox for Vladdy next season. So we got to be prepared to go all in, or we're not getting him.
That's right. Is he a Boris client?
I don't think so, but let me double check.
Because, you know, then we got to start now, and get the paper shoved across the table at them, because, you know, I will love my team so much that I would accept Vladdy the way I accepted Johnny Damon and other evil people from teams that we had rivaled with, but there's no argument there. And Graham's Graham's really campaigning for Arenado. You know, the thing is, Graham, like, busting your butt and wanting to win, and a Metro card will get you on the subway in New York. You know, there's not many people on our 40 man, on our 26 man, that we can't say the same thing about, that tanked. I mean, you're a Yankee, because we know that we have evidence you'll bust your butt and want to win. You know, and I hope that comes true with Goldie, but that's not enough. And this is where stats, you know, do have to come into play. And someone made a point earlier about, you know, look, Volpe is the one that better have a show up year, because if not, then his value's going down, and he'll be the next trading piece that we see. So, Raziel's thinking that Vladdy will say no to us.
Let me be delusional, Raziel. Okay, I took a Photoshop picture of Vladdy in a Yankees uniform, and honestly, it looks right to me. I'm just saying. He cut his hair last year when we played them. I think my boy was auditioning. And you know what? And I've been very vocal. I love the players who pound their chest and who show you, like, I am good. Like, I'm not just talking to talk. Like, I am a good baseball player. And that's why I like Vladdy. And I think he would do well in New York.
If he beats his chest and then rocks the baby, I am so off the train. Okay? And I really think that needs to be written in his contract, because...
So I think we're good, because that was Josh Naylor. I think, if I remember right, Vladdy likes to shush us.
Oh yeah. I love when he did that in our house, too. So, yeah, we definitely we got to juice it up. And you know what? The fruit freezes in the winter, so there's no juice to be had. We're really stuck now. The other thing, so we're still unsettled, unhappy in the infield, which we started out this off season saying was the most critical point, other than filling the hole in the outfield. That got resolved early, but this infield is still hanging on, and it's annoying. So, and now we have no one left, and we're going to be slim pickings and dumpster diving unless we get a Bregman. And with Boris in the way, we know how that goes. So, and frankly, I don't know that the Yankees have a taste for dealing with Boris after what happened with the Soto trade. So there's got to be some ill will going on there, and that I don't know they're over yet.
I don't think any team wants to deal with Boris at this point. The guy is a cancer in the sport of baseball. And after looking at Blake Snell last season and Jordan Montgomery and just everything that went on, I don't know why anybody would then go and sign with Scott Boras. Like, he was able to get Blake Snell, short-term deal, high AAV, congrats, whatever. But, look what happened to Monty. He had a rough season after that whole, not pitching in the offseason. And that should be the cautionary tale for the people who are signing with him. Look at Cody Bellinger. He had a rough go, getting his contract with the Cubs. He did not perform the way the Cubs had expected him to. Now, granted, he had those options in there, so they were able to, convince the Yankees to take him. And I'm very grateful for that. I think Cody will have a bounce back season, and I'm very excited to have Belly on this team. But looking at Scott Boras offseason in 2024, I don't know why his clients would even chance it in 2025. We're looking at a different game of baseball now. Teams outside of the Dodgers are not spending the way that they would have back in the day, and teams are paying attention to those QOs that are attached to draft picks and their international free agency money. It's a different game of baseball. And unfortunately, these really good players are hurting themselves. Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, and it's very sad to watch because they are still very, very talented baseball players. They're still very young. They still have a long road to go in the MLB, but now it's a matter of who wants to give them the money and actually take the chance.
Yeah, and hey, Mike Lopez, nice to see a Dodgers fan here. I'll give you that the Dodgers have the best rotation and bullpen in the National League.
Mm-hmm.
I will not give you all of baseball. Despite all the grand moves that have been made, and congratulations to your team. And you're not a dynasty until you've done it more than once.
I have a question since we have a Dodgers fan in the chat right now. So the MLB implemented the Steve Cohen tax when Steve Cohen bought the Mets and became the richest baseball owner in, history.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's that 301 threshold, and after that, you're getting taxed, right? It's the Steve Cohen tax because they were afraid that the Mets were going to go out and buy up everybody, which they have yet to do. But what the Dodgers are doing, the MLB considers good for baseball. Can somebody please explain that to me like I am in kindergarten so that I can understand why that's good for baseball? But the teams like the Yankees and the Mets and whoever else that you consider a big market team is no longer buying players because they don't want to go over a threshold.
We'll see if the chat comes back with an answer.
We make other ballparks sell out when they're the Yankees do the same thing, Mike. Okay, so I live in Chicago, right? Nobody goes to White Sox games. The minute that the Yankees come to town, that freaking game is sold out. All 3 games. Okay, the Yankees sell out games too. The Dodgers aren't the first team to do it, and they won't be the last. Let's be real here.
Right. Yeah, and you can't just bounce around the label of dynasty until you've won multiple championships, Mike. So happy for you to be excited. But really, they're not a standalone. They're not unique. There's a whole wide 30-team world out there in the MLB. And yeah, you could slash probably 15 of them off the table right off the top of the bat. But you know what? Here's the thing. The only way to prove out what you're saying is if we get back to in the World Series, Yankees, Dodgers, with our current bullpen and our current rotation and all the adjustments made and yours, and then we'll see how it goes.
I guess my final opinion on the matter is if the Dodgers do not three-peat, if they do not win the next 2 World Series, then it wasn't worth it. If they don't win the next 2 World Series, then this was all for nothing for them. And you know what? I will be praying for that downfall. Like I said earlier, as far as the West Coast goes, let's go Padres. I hope Fernando Tatis just is the thorn in their side in the National League playoffs next season. And I am here for the Dodger downfall. I don't care if that makes it sound like a hater, because I am a hater. It's, for me, it's F the Dodgers moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're always in the shopping mall looking for a new rival. And we've been very East Coast focused in our rivalry, but we're game. We're hungry after what happened last season. We want that rematch. We want that Groundhog Day, and it won't be pretty, is what my prediction will be. And I don't care what the numbers say about which stadium sells out the most crowds. There's a lot of tourists that come over from Japan to go to Dodger games. Are they really the fans filling in? There's business out in LA, and people bring their clients, and those fill up the suites and the good seats for a good chunk of games. So I'm not so sure. But so data, I don't know that the data, even if we were to claim that, would be anything that is reliable. So all right, in terms, before we go back to prospect signings, and I just want to make a little commercial. We've been here for over 50 minutes, and 75 of you are watching, but only one of you like us. It's really like, it's been bothering me, and I'm coming closer to the camera. We're just two ladies standing in front of baseball fans asking to be liked. So hit that like button. Crying out loud. It's not hard. It's cute. It's a little dumb.
Lynn is pulling out her inner Meredith Grey. Choose me. Pick me. Love me.
Last Julia Roberts in Notting Hill. And these guys in the chat are like, oh boy, they're going all girl on us. But you could even use your thumb to hit that thumb. But I would really love to see that number go up. All right, so back to business. I do want to mention, I'm still not so settled on catcher. I think that what's going on, Ciarra?
I'm just laughing at the chat. We can move on.
Okay. Support women. Yes. Support women. Equal rights. John loves you, Ciarra. And Jake Boss is saying 24. Okay, great. Then all right. We only see one on our side, so phew, that's a little bit better.
I believe you, Jake Boss.
Yep. Thanks, Jake Boss. You lit up the hope a bit.
All right, back to international signings.
Let's go.
All right.
I even made a slide for it.
So I kind of skipped over this. I meant to talk about it earlier in the show, but the Dodgers had me so fired up today that I just right ahead. So the Yankees did have some international signings, this past week during that open market. They had $6.2 million to spend. I can't read dollars very well, but we're going to go with 6.2. So we signed 2 shortstops. We got all of these guys are out of the Dominican Republic. Okay. So we signed 2 shortstops. We have Manny Cedeno. According to MLB.com, he was the 11th best signing in this international free agency class. So that's awesome. We also signed a shortstop named Carlos Bello. We signed 3 outfielders. So we have Isaias Castillo, Ruben Castillo, Edison Charles, and we signed a right-handed pitcher, Ranciel Abreu. So these guys are all 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. So they're literal children right now. We don't know what's going to come of it, but I hope for the best for all of them. I hope that, we've been waiting on Jason Dominguez for a very long time. And I hope that it's a different outcome for these 6 young men. I hope that we get to see them by the time they're 22, 23 years old, and that they become the superstars that they deserve to be. With that being said, it was reported that this wasn't, one of our better drafts or one of our better international drafts in recent years. So we'll see what happens. I was just happy to have some names throw out there to you guys. There's not a whole lot of numbers out there for these kids yet, but my 2025 baseball content creator goal is to become better at knowing things about international free agents and the farm system. So you guys are going to hold me to that. And moving forward, your girl is going to be an expert.
Okay, so let's go local for the next part then. Let's fly back home. Let's go to our farms. And would love to know, in terms of all our prospects, who would you like to see brought up who do you want to have a look at during spring training? I'd love the chat to weigh in on this. And Ciarra, who do you want to get a good look at during spring training?
So for me, it's got to be JC Escara because we need that backup catch. He's already on our 40-man, right? But we technically have 4 catchers on the 40-man right now. Obviously, we have Wells, we have Alex Jackson, and we have Jesus Rodriguez along with JC Escara. But we need a really strong backup catcher. Now, JC is already 29 years old. Okay, that's pretty old in baseball years. So I feel like this has to be the season that he shows up and shows out. Wells needs someone strong behind him. Last year, no hate to Trevi. I was a fan of his for a very long time, but it was like open season running the bases against Trevi, right? Like we can't have that moving forward because, like I've said 80 billion times, defense has to be better this season. That's both infield and catcher, point blank period. So I would like to see him get that shot in spring training, along with Jorbit Vivas, because my second baseman is gone, so I need a new one. And yeah.
And Jazz just doesn't jazz you up, huh?
I like Jazz, but he's just not my second baseman. Like, I would like to see Jazz stay at third personally because he did a really good job at third base.
Me too.
And I know second's his natural position or whatever, but I don't want to see DJ play third base every day. No hate, no shade to DJ. 2019 DJ gave me life. Unfortunately, he's just a shell of his former self. It's not his fault. Not everybody ages the same way. Unfortunately, his gangrened foot has messed him up over the past few seasons, and it is what it is. There's nothing that we can do about it at this point.
No, and I have concerns about moving Jazz back to second, because he's so seamlessly adjusted. Was he like, Gold Glove quality? No, but he really was solid and earned that. I was so comfortable with him there in such a short period of time. And so, I hope that they try him out on both bags during spring training, and make a fair assessment of this and not just the automatic pivot to natural, whatever that is anymore, by the way. So I just, and they might have to really, I don't know if they'll have the luxury of taking him off third, and maybe they'll bring Jorbit on for a second, depending on how he looks during spring training. Other names are coming up in the chat. Spencer Jones, I think, is an obvious. I don't see him not getting invited. Raziel, like you, well, Vivas will be there, and oh yeah, Joe. So would I. By the way, I would love to see Joe Lombard.
So my only concern about George Lombard is he's 19. I don't mind seeing him in a spring training exhibition, whatever, but I don't know if he's ready to be in the MLB. Does that sound hypocritical for me to say that? Because I just feel like there's still so much more development that he could do. But again, I wouldn't hate to see the kid in spring training and see what he can do.
Yeah. Even if it's for those set of games that I can't remember what it's called, those breakout games, right? It's the breakout games for some prospects. It'd be good to get a little look at of him. But I have a feeling this is for you, Ciarra. With love from Graham. Thought I'd put that up there to show the love. Yeah, Raziel, Jazz could do either. I'd be comfortable with either. Somebody up above, the chat's flying fast, said that the Yankees aren't done. We're going to get a third baseman. What are you laughing at now, Ciarra?
I'm laughing at this Dodger fan taking shots at Giancarlo Stanton because it's just
Oh,
funny.
wait, really?
Well, he's taking shots at our West Coast guys. And so here's my thing. Aaron Judge is a freaking unicorn, okay? The guy, there's nobody better in baseball right now than Aaron Judge. However, he does have a little bit of performance anxiety, and that's become very clear in the playoffs. But Giancarlo Stanton, the reigning ALCS MVP, the one guy in the New York Yankees uniform who shows up consistently in the postseason, who has a career 800 OPS, that's who we're coming after? Come on.
Really?
Do better, Mike Lopez. Do better.
You know you're going to see him if you ever get on a plane and come to our side of the country. You know you're going to see him in Cooperstown in about 5-10 years. So come see him and be the one that said, I watched him play live. Him and Judge.
The chase for 500 home runs.
Yep. And he's going to get there. There's no doubt about that. Hampton was definitely on my card as well, Graham. And yeah, Henry Lillane is another one. So, this just speaks to the fact that of what we've been saying so much. We have a good farm system. We're just not using our prospects in the ways that we need to when there's an opportunity for it. So more of that, please. And I think we're in a situation where we have no choice. And so, yeah, no doubt, we won't miss the money on Stanton, but we'll miss the player. And yeah, we need the ring. If Stanton retires without a ring, it's going to be the biggest injustice since Don Mattingly. So we got, and Ciarra and I said it all during the postseason. Win because we want Stanton to have that ring, and and the rest of the team. But Stanton deserves it, and everyone thinks of like the big gaps in time, but he was signed to do the job he's doing, and he does it well, season after season after season, and he's also the unnamed captain of the team as well.
Not to mention. Listen, there's a correlation. Giancarlo Stanton got hurt in June. The Yankees sucked in June. Okay? The whole month that Giancarlo Stanton was out, the Yankees were trash. Okay? Just saying. He is the heart of the order.
That's absolutely right. And I agree with you, 13 bar. I think everyone, Judge is Judge. And I would imagine that fatherhood is going to soften him even more. But he does need to lay down some opinions, lay down some hard facts, push things in the press that, tell the front office, oh, now we got to do something that he mentioned. He really has to be more of that guy. I just don't know that he has it in him. And that's the question, but certainly don't agree with you on that. Who's maybe somebody said up above that our farm is so bad. Why have our coaches been poached?
So I don't necessarily think that it's the talent in the farm system is bad. It's the way that we utilize our farm system. We've said it before, right? Cashman will pick 4 prospects and he will hug them, and he will lose out on their trade value, but also lose out on their prime opportunity to bring them up to the majors. And that's why our farm system is never in the top. Like, we can't figure out the right way to develop and utilize our system. Therefore, we are never going to make it above the top 10 at this point. Like, I don't know what we're doing.
Right. And we're already there with Peraza. We've seen evidence of that. And right on the bubble there is going to be Spencer Jones if we don't do something real with him. And believe me, there's eyes on Spencer Jones. It's been mentioned all over the place in this offseason. So Spencer Jones in any package would be a hugely valuable trading piece. So either do that or get the kid up here. because that's going to be another one withering. He already needs some water on the soil, because he needs to be brought up and given a shot.
Great.
Any last thoughts, Ciarra?
Yeah. So we are less than 30 days out from pitchers and catchers. We are about 65 days out from opening day. I'm so grateful because I miss baseball so much. Like I said 27 other times on the show, F the Dodgers. It will always be F the Dodgers. Let's go Yankees. Let's figure out what we're doing so we can run it back to the World Series and maybe actually win this time. And don't forget to root for the Bills today, guys. For Lynn, #Go Bills.
Thanks, Ciarra. Yes, especially after that very questionable Kansas City win last night. Boy, any of my friends watching that are Chiefs fans, I'm gonna get the heat. I don't care. Talk about. I don't know. Is Angel Hernandez now an NFL referee? Because some of those calls last night were flat out laughable. So yeah, the Bills got to take it today. And we'll see. I want that matchup with the Chiefs next weekend like nobody's business. So give us a little love if you're so inclined. If you hate the Bills, well, it is a free country. Shane is here to say go Bills. I love that. And I guess my only other thought is by this time next week, something happens. Anything happens. When are we going to get our breaking news moment? When are we going to get a Fine Sands or Passan tweet 30 seconds before we go live, like we just friggin' did for this show? It's our turn, and I want it. Hey, chat, you rock, you roll, you rule the school. We love having you here every week. Don't forget that the Pinstripe Chronicles is talk about a dynasty. We are like an empire and emerging into a dynasty with shows all throughout the week and more to come. And that's a teaser. And I'm the one that's going to be teasing you about it because I'm the one that's going to be making it happen with some people you know very well, one of whom you might be seeing right now. So even more Pinstripe Chronicles content coming. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the threesome, the fearsome threesome of Tats, Donald, Rob. You got Yankified on Saturday. Look for when Donald goes live because he's very courteous of football season. But that show's on fire. So, and as always, just pray that Catchman does the thing this week. And you'll always have that reserved seat with us right here on the upper deck. So see you next Sunday. And go Bills.